Good morning, guys. It's Monday today, May 24th. I hope everyone has a decent Monday, but today I'm going to showcase the kids' bald fade. And then we're going to be styling it as a faux hawk as well. So we're going to jump right into it and go with the Babyliss trimmers and start our guideline. So as you can see, I like to tap the line in first. And again, make sure it stays consistent throughout the haircut. But after the guideline, I like to flip my clipper over and take my time, make sure everything's nice and even. I'm gonna speed out the video for you so you guys can, skip the boring part and get behind the ears. Make sure, I see this too often with some people, and I used to make this mistake as a beginner too, but make sure you get the hair behind the ear. You don't wanna leave them with those little, hairs sticking out or behind the ears. When they leave, make sure everything's nice and cleaned up before you proceed to the fade. And as you can see, I have the Babyliss Pro clippers, and I'm starting off with them open. And I like to work like this because I like to split the fade in two sections. So first, I like to fade the zero to the open lever. And then once I finish that, I like to move on and finish the bulk on top. But the reason I like to do this is because I feel like whenever you look at any fade, that bottom portion, the zero to the, let's say the one, if you get that super clean, I feel like that really makes the fade pop, and that's gonna give I feel like that's the foundation to a blurry fade, is getting that bottom portion nice and clean. But anyways, then I move on to the Babyliss closed. And you're gonna see me work that bottom line out as much as possible. And we're gonna be flipping back and forth between the half lever and the quarter lever. Excuse me, guys. So again, take your time, no rush. Go back and forth. Use a brush to always keep your surface clean, just so you can see what you do after you cut hair. Make sure you're always keeping an eye on all the hairs you cut. And always listen to if any hair is cutting. That's another way to really, don't have your music blasting all the way up all the time, because you really want to listen to the hairs being cut, and that's gonna really help you, create a nice fade. Sometimes I catch myself, let's say I have the music on too loud sometimes, but I catch myself, going over the same area, and then I really pay attention and I'm listening. It's like I'm not really cutting any hair, and honestly, that happens way too often. But yeah, as you can see, I'm cutting my little guy here. This was on Saturday. And I'm cutting this as I'm having a full-on conversation with his dad, and this guy does get a little bit impatient, so I try to, not rush it, but, find that sweet spot so he doesn't get impatient, and also, I'm not also rushing it where I'm messing up his hair. But here we move on to the right side, and again, brush it, and we're gonna do the same thing we done on the left side, is just playing with those levers. Flipping back and forth. We're going through, again with the closed, the half, the quarter, and honestly, we're going all the way open as well. So make sure we get all those levels perfected before we move on to the larger, the parietal ridge, which is that darker section that you see there on top of the section that I'm working on right now. Oh, excuse me, guys. I have a dry throat this morning. Let me give you guys some advice. Let me start off by saying this. A reason why I started off the studio is because, one, the barbershops I work at, sometimes a lot of guys like to speak on alcohol. They like to talk about, like messing with women and politics. And that's just stuff that I just kind of got over with. After 7-8 years of working in a public barbershop, I just didn't enjoy that environment anymore, or that atmosphere. So a reason why I chose to the private studio route is because me personally, I like to speak on positive things. I like to speak on things that help people, achieve things in life. I like to speak on goals. I like to better people. I like to help people. And again, this is why I went private, is because I really want to protect my mindset. I want to maintain it. Because sometimes even if you're not having let's say even if you're not having a conversation, a negative conversation, whether it be gossip or whatever it may be, sometimes you're subconsciously listening to whatever is on TV or other people's conversations, and that stuff kind of sticks in your brain. And long story short, I just wanted to steer away with that. But if you feel that way, either move to a barbershop where you have more like-minded people, or start your own studio. But back to the video here. I have the 1.5 blade on my Andis Supra ZRs, and we're gonna create that guideline. And again, you always want to make sure whatever blade you're using, keep stroking the hair until you don't hear any cutting anymore. And that's how you know that is a sign that you've done your job with the blade or with that particular size. And don't move on, until you stop hearing, until you don't hear any hair cutting. So you want it to be nice and precise and even before you move on to the next level. And make sure you're always flicking up at a 45-degree angle. So fading at the top. So we're gonna work that right side out. Brushing it. Keep on brushing it, guys. Again, take your time. Now you see me working with the 1A blade. And I love this blade because again, it helps to fade in that portion that we did with the Babyliss clippers. And I'm gonna use the one after this. The 1A and the 1 is a totally different size. The 1A is cuts a little bit or leaves the hair a little bit longer. But you need those two sizes if you're gonna use with detachable clipper blades. If you're gonna use detachable blade clippers, highly recommend you get that 1A because it's gonna help you fade in those two portions in. And as you can see, my little guy was starting to get a little impatient. He keeps on twisting his head. He was either trying to get his dad's attention or he was just honestly getting a little bit bored. But at this point, again, he's getting a little impatient, so I'm doing my best to still provide that quality of haircut. But as you can see, he's itching right there. He's sticking that little finger out. And now this is the one blade right here. You're gonna watch me combine those two sections together. Working that back part out. Be careful with that little swirl in the back. It's so easy to, mess up that section there. And you want to keep in mind the hair pattern. Keep an eye on the hair grain and the pattern, and you always want to cut against it, especially with Hispanic hair. It depends really on the hair type, but in this case, cut against the hair grain. So you want to angle your clipper correctly at all times. You can see I'm just gonna go back and forth here. Again, making sure that everything that I'm satisfied with the work I'm doing before I move on to the next layer. Brushing to see my work. I see a little spot there, so now we proceed and finish that little piece off. Working section by section. The little guy is yawning, he's over this haircut and he's ready to get on my chair. But now I moved on. As you can see, I'm using the guard now because, again, sometimes I just feel, especially with finer hair as he has, sometimes guard honestly just does the trick. It just makes it easier. And again, when you're dealing with a kid that's kind of moving all the time, it's easier and safer to use guards. Because sometimes with blades, or let me say this, with blades you have to be more precise at the angle you're cutting, and sometimes you just can't achieve that with a kid that's consistently moving. So I switched to my guards here just because it'll make this job easier. It might take a little bit more time for myself. I speak for myself on that, but anyways, I just feel like it's gonna make this haircut easier for me, so I switched to my blades. And currently I'm using the 1.5 blade to just lighten that section up, getting it ready to blend. I'm not really concerned about getting that bottom guideline out yet. I'm gonna be switching, the lever back and forth. But anyways, I'm lightening up the heavier section on top to make it easier for me to, blend that bottom section. Sometimes when you go straight into blending, when you blend down going towards up, sometimes it's easy for us to make a mistake and move that fade up. But I like working, I like to work on the top and then go back and forth, so I keep the fade right where I want it. Now you see me using the one guard. Again, I go back and forth because I like to keep that fade, in that section that I wanted. I don't want to accidentally move the fade up and turn it into a high fade, which what we're doing here is kind of a mid-high fade, but I do not want to take it high where, it turns into a mohawk, which I've done, in my beginner days, and I've learned from my mistake, and I hope you learn from your mistakes as well. Always keep learning. Never become, subjected to one idea. Just always keep learning. I've been cutting hair for about 11 years, and you always want to keep learning, guys. You always want to keep progressing. You never want to settle. You just always want to find different techniques and, tweak your technique in little ways that can better yourself. But long story short, better yourself. Back to your video, you see me here, going back and making little touch-ups. I will say this haircut was the last haircut of the day, so I was a bit tired. The kid was moving, and I'm just ready to finish it. But anyways, I did somehow make little mistakes throughout the haircut. So now I'm making touch-ups here and there, which is practically normal. It happens to everyone. And again, he has very fine hair. So today, Saturday when I was cutting this haircut, it was my birthday as well, May 22nd, so I'm ready to kind of get the day ended, and my girlfriend has some plans for me, so I'm just, I'm just ready. You're gonna see me here go back and forth with guards with different sizes. But once I finish here with the clippers, you see that top portion there that's still a bit heavy. I'm gonna go at it with some thinning shears. But I'm gonna thin it right after, I trimmed the top there. We didn't want to go too short. We honestly just did a quick, trim the tips, and then that's about it. We're gonna style it as a faux hawk. And yes, like I said, today is Monday. My schedule, I usually work from Tuesday to Saturday, which was pretty much work like that, my whole barber career. But what days you guys like to work? Back to the video, I'm spraying the hair with water, combing it, making sure the hair is thoroughly wet. And usually with this hair, I honestly would have preferred to use a smaller comb, but this was what was at hand, so I'm just gonna use that. And again, I like to use a 7-inch shears just because I feel like you don't have to put a lot of pressure when cutting. Like I said in a previous video, I used to use a 5.5 shear, and I just got tired of it. I prefer using these bigger shears when I trim the top of people's hair. Take your time, make sure all the hair is even. As you see here, I'm using the thinning shears now, or as some people refer to them as blending shears. Get that section out there, or lighten that spot out. These are great shears when you want to keep the length, but you just want to remove some bulk. You want it to lay flatter. And again, think of a fade more as a lot of times people, we don't have consistently thick hair all throughout, or at least most of us, so really just play with the different shades of the hair and just lighten up a spot that needs it. And those that are artists that draw, you kind of get what I mean. Sometimes we leave the hair longer somewhere. Think of it like this: when you cut thinner hair, and let's say they show you a picture of somebody with thicker hair, yet it's the same length. If you run a number 3 on thicker hair, it's gonna look darker, but if you run a number 3 on thinner hair, it's gonna look lighter. So you don't always want to go with, you know, with let's say some sort of description on your hair. The best way to, you gotta use your judgment, guys, whenever you're cutting someone's hair, and keep in mind the level of thickness of the hair, how coarse their hair is, I should say. And now you see me using my Babyliss trimmers. These are the Patty Cuts edition, the Influencer edition, I believe they're called. And I have that Tune 45 cordless charging piece, which I do love. Got tired of using all these cables, but as far as aligning, let me give you some advice. You want to start on one side and then work your way to the left side. You don't want to just shoot straight across, because 90% of the time it will turn out a bit crooked. So I like to start in the middle, work myself to the right, and then work myself to the left. I will say I do switch it up all the time, but for the most part, you kind of want to work in the middle out. And then he does have a cowlick right there on the left side. You can see it looks like a light spot, but his hair really just sticks up. But we're gonna try our best to kind of work with that, and, you know, kind of draw an imaginary line in our head. But yeah, just tapping it, do a little, you know, clip over comb there, just lighten some spots up, make some finishing details, and that's pretty much looking good. You know, now we're almost done here. Just keep on combing it down, because, you know, comb it, cut it, because there's always going to be some little hairs that kind of curl up, especially if if kids move their foreheads, which we've seen, it kind of like pushes the hair up, so you want to comb and cut. We're going to grab a little bit of product and just do a very subtle faux hawk, as you can see. And we're pretty much done here. We're just styling it. He's looking a bit tired and ready to leave the chair, so I'm gonna get this guy off my chair and, you know, let him enjoy the rest of the day. But as you can see, this is a finished product. I hope you guys like it. Stay tuned for more videos, but I'm gonna show you guys a before really quick. So this was a before. There you go. And then we're gonna switch forward, and bam, this is the after. So I got my little man looking fresh here. I've been cutting this dude for about maybe 5-6 years, so he's been a little kid. He's a little guy since I've been cutting him. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you like the content. Stay tuned for more, and have a great day.